Hi, welcome to Rose Opal Knits, a crafty channel. This is Flosstube number 2. Hey, how are you doing? Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. If you're new, thank you for clicking on this video. I hope you stick around and you enjoy what you see and you consider coming back again. And if you're returning, thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me again today. I really appreciate it. If you are new here, just a little bit of background information. This channel is a crafty channel. It was started by myself and my daughter-in-law. We usually do a crafty podcast together a couple times a month. Mostly it's about knitting, but there's also crochet, and I used to discuss my cross stitch in those episodes as well, but I have a lot to talk about when it comes to my cross stitch, and so I always felt like I couldn't express myself fully because I didn't want her to make her sit there while I went on and on about cross stitch. Not that she minded, but she's a busy mom, and she doesn't need to sit here while I ramble on. Um, let's see, what should I say? So it's been about 32 days since I recorded my first floss tube in September, and I have notes. So it's been, yes, 32 days, and I was able to pick up at least one stitching project for 27 of those days. So only 5 days were non-stitching days. So I have quite a bit to show you. And I have one finish and 2 new starts. So let's get into that. Actually, before we get into finished objects and works in progress, there are a couple things that I want to talk about. My first floss tube video, I mentioned Whip Go several times, but I failed to properly describe what Whip Go is. So Whip Go is a bingo board of your whips, and Jessie Marie Does Stuff created the Whip Go challenge group, whatever game, whatever you want to call it. She is here on Flosstube, on Instagram, and on Facebook. So you create your Whip Go board, you place your works in progresses wherever you want on the board, and then every month Jessie Marie calls 2 numbers. And her motto is your board, your rules. So you're not playing for prizes. She's not handing out prizes or anything. It's just an encouragement, a fun way to work on some whips. So I made a Whip Go board late December, early January. I can't remember which one. And I have been working on my Whip Go this year. So I wanted to mention that. Also, oh, one other thing. In the my first floss tube, I didn't really mention how I stitch my projects. Am I using 2 threads over, no, 2, yeah, 2 over 2, 1 over 2, and I will try to do better than this time around mentioning that. So I think that's all I wanted to mention now. So let's talk about my finish. All right, so I had one finish, and my finish is out of this Just Cross Stitch magazine. It is from October 2014. The name of the project is Give Thanks, and it is by Kathy Haberman. And I know that this is still available. You can purchase this from cross stitch shops. I've seen it on 123 Stitch, I think, and actually Kathy Haberman posted it about it recently on her Instagram. So if you like it, you should get it. It was a fun stitch. I did not use the called for materials. Here is my finish right here. And I will pop in a before picture so that you can see what I did. Okay, so this fabric is a Hobby Lobby fabric. It is the Artiste brand by Zweigart. It is 32 count Murano in the colored mustard. I stitched it 2 strands of floss over 2 on the fabric. So 2 over 2. And I used color and cotton. These are the 4 colors I used. Put this down. So I used that. I'm not going to say that. And this one is Witch's Brew. Limited edition. It's a brown gray. And Old Moss. And I really liked the way the colors turned out on this fabric. I'll hold it close. I have no idea how I'm going to finish it, but I'm happy it's done. So this project was called this month for my Whip Go. And my Whip Go goals are 5 days. Doesn't matter how much time I spend on each day, just as long as I pick it up and working on it for some time for 5 days. And it took me the 5 days to finish it. So in those 5 days, I managed to stitch on it for 5 hours and 15 minutes. And then it was finished. All right, now we're into my works in progress, and this one is an almost finish. I had planned to finish it, but I didn't. So this is, I think it's Girl with Cake, or Girl and Kitten with Cake. It's a LUCA-S kit. And I used all the kitted materials except the fabric. It came with Ada. Does it say what count it was? No. But it came with Ada. And in my stash, I had some Hobby Lobby Artiste Murano, 32 count Murano in Pink Splash. And here is my project. I'll pop a picture in of where I was last time. All right, so let's talk about this. I worked on this project for a total of 25 hours and 15 minutes. And I finished it with, so the goal was to stitch it for my daughter for her 6th birthday. And I modified it. I added 2 extra candles so that the cake would have 6 candles on it. Also down here in the picture, there's a flower. I left the flower off because that's where I'm going to put her name and the year. Everything else is to pattern. And I really enjoyed stitching it. I think it's so cute, and it's going to look even cuter once I finish all the back stitching. But that back stitching, oh my goodness. So I finished it 5 days before her birthday, and I thought, no problem. This is totally going to be done on her birthday. And then I started back stitching, and then I remembered how long back stitching takes. And I don't know that back stitching actually takes longer than cross stitching, or if it's just because it's not as fun of a process to back stitch. I love the way back stitching looks, and I don't hate back stitching, but it's not my favorite thing to do. So I didn't spend I wasn't drawn to it like I was when it was just cross stitches and half stitches. But also that 5 days before her wedding, we had her birthday. We had another birthday in the family, my daughter-in-law's birthday. Then we had a wedding to attend and a baptism to attend. So 3 different things on 3 different days out of the 5. So that took up a lot of my free time as well. And I just didn't get it finished. But I showed it to her and she loves it. And she can't wait to have it. She asked if she could have it as a blanket to use for her dolls. And I said, no, ma'am. I'm going to put it in a frame. So this needle minder is one that I made myself. All my needle minders I've made myself. So I don't think there's anything else I have to say. I'll put it close. That's that project. I have a quick correction. My finished project, Give Thanks, was not a Whip Go call for this month, the month of October. It was a Whip Go call for September. So I worked on it for 5 days, the second half of September. So now I'm going to show you one of my Whip Go calls for this month, the month of October. And also, I'd like to apologize if you hear any background noise. There are people in this house living their lives. So you might hear them talking. And also my neighbor's dogs are in their backyard. So you might hear a bark or two, but it shouldn't be too loud. Okay, back to my Whip Go. One of my Whip Go projects for this month is this. And I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to hold it here so you can see it. And let me show you where I am. And I'll pop in a picture so you can see this side by side. All right, the details on this project. I am stitching this on 32 count vintage country mocha Lugana, and I am using all the suggested DMC. I am going to make some modifications to it. I just haven't gotten there yet. So I plan to change some of the shirt colors for the gnomes to represent the favorite colors of the members of my family. Me, my husband, and our 4 children, and also my daughter-in-law and their 3 children. So we will be adding some color. I will add some colors to this pattern, and I also plan to take out this flower and add another one of these little gnome guys so that all the members of our family will be represented. Now, there are a couple mistakes in here. I realized when I picked this project back up that I was 1 row short somewhere here in the gnome's body. And I thought to myself, do I care enough to frog it back and redo it? Because it was up here somewhere, right up there. And I was down a little bit further, I think, if I remember correctly. And I thought, no, I'm not. And that's gonna be a theme with me. I say good enough is good enough, and finished is better than perfect are 2 things that I live by and believe. I don't believe anyone's perfect. None of us are. So why should I expect my crafty pursuits to be perfect? I am an imperfect person, and that is going to be reflected in the things that I do. Though I do try to do my best. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but I'm just saying I'm not going to get hung up on perfectionism. That's just me. And, obviously we're all different. But I decided that that wasn't important enough for me to, take it back and restitch it. So I have made this stool a little bit shorter. And that's the only thing I changed. I had thought about making this hat like 1 row shorter and the sock 1 row shorter, but I decided that the spacing here was fine. until I got to the bottom and realized that I am half a thread off. So I haven't decided. I haven't decided if I'm going to take out these guys here and restitch them or not. Like, I don't know, the half a thread over kind of bothers me more than a row shorter. Because see how this stitch is supposed to be in line with this stitch, but it's a half a thread off. And I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But I have time to think about it because this project is going away until 2023. So I've got some time to consider it. What would you do? Would you leave it or would you restitch it? Let me know in the comments below. All right, the next whip that I worked on was this Dimensions kit called Beach Babies. I'm using all the kit materials. It's on 14 count Aida and all the threads that came in the kit. I didn't work on it a lot. I only worked on it for an hour and 20 minutes. And some of that time was frogging. So I'll pop in a picture of what it looked like before. And this is where it is now. All right, so like I said, not a lot, but I did have to frog. This lighter color in here, the pattern only calls for 1 strand of floss, full X's, and I used 2 strands of floss, full X's, and so I hemmed and hawed about that, and I decided to unstitch it and then restitch it the correct way. However, these half crossed stitches there in the darker brown, they are 4 strands of floss, and I had like a whole moment of panic because the birthday pattern that I was doing for my 6-year-old daughter, I had been working half stitches in that pattern, and that pattern suggests that you slant the stitches in one direction, and the dimension kit suggests the other direction, and I did this pattern slanted the way the LUCA-S pattern suggested, and then I was like, oh, do I unstitch that and stitch it the right way? And then I was like, I don't know. But then I decided that with the 4 strands, that was a lot of coverage, and it looked good, and it wasn't going to bother me, and I left it and went about my business and then put this away. I think I mentioned in my last video that this project is not a focus at this time. So if it gets a little bit of work here and there, that's fine with me. But I like it. All right. All right, the next project that I worked on is another Dimensions kit. This one's called Be a Light. And I am using all the kit materials. It's on 14 count navy Aida, and then all the threads that came with the kit. I will pop in a picture of where I was before. All right, so this is where I am now. And I think it's just beautiful. I love those colors. They're so cheery. And let me see. I spent a total of 3 hours and 10 minutes on this one. So, I think I said this in the last episode, but with this Dimension Kit Aida, I just stitch in hand and I do what the pattern, tells me to do as far as the number of strands. full crosses, half cross stitches, you know, whatever the pattern says, I'm doing it. And I just roll up the Aida, you know, to get where I need to go. If I need to, I hold the Aida, you know, with these to keep it secure. And yeah, so I really like it. So I'm hoping to get a finish. It would be nice to get a finish on this before the end of the year, but I don't know if that one's gonna happen. But I do love it. All right, the last whip that I'm going to talk about before I get into my new starts is one that I don't have a cover photo for. It is my Leaves of Autumn. It's another Dimensions kit. It's my oldest work in progress, and I talked about it in the first Flosstube. My sister-in-law had purchased it out of the discount bin at a local craft store and asked me to stitch it for her. And I think that was in the late 90s. And I had found it, but didn't find the chart or the threads. Finally found the chart, didn't have the floss. So I went and bought a bunch of floss from Hobby Lobby when I took my project in with me, compared the colors, and because I wanted to start this again. So here's where I am now. I will pop in, the sun shifted, so now the lighting's a little bit different, but I think you're able to see that. I'll pop in a before picture of where I was, and then I'll talk a little bit more about this project. So I talked about how, oh, I forget her name, but from Teeny Weeny Stitches, how she inspired me to pull this project out and to buy DMC and color match the floss so that I could finish the project. And I'm so happy to be working on it again. So I did take the project into Hobby Lobby, like I said, and I tried to color match as best I could. Ow! I tried to color match as best I could in the store. And then I brought it home and I tried to sort through and color match, and I thought this could be easier. I could be doing something a little bit easier. So I made a purchase, and now I'm going to talk briefly about that purchase. I ordered this from 123 Stitch. It is the DMC colors with the actual floss samples, and this is awesome. I'm so glad to have this because it really helped me narrow down the colors for this project, and feel confident that while some of the colors aren't exact, they are close enough, and I will be happy with the finished product, I think. Also, I have a couple, or 5 or 6, Mill Hill kits that I've never finished a Mill Hill. I've never started a Mill Hill, but I did open one and tried to sort through the colors, and I was like, I don't know what these colors are. I can't tell the difference between light medium green and medium green, or whatever it was at the time. So now I think that with this, I'll be able to sort them much more easily. So if you use DMC and you don't have one of these, you should consider getting it. I think it's a smart purchase. But so I worked down here, not in this leaf, but I think in these 3 I added, if I remember correctly. And I decided when I started stitching this again that for now, this year, 2022, I'm only going to stitch on it the remainder of the year on the 2nd and the 4th and the 24th of every month, because my sister-in-law's favorite number is 24, or any combination of 2 and 4. So for her, I will give this project some love on the 2nd, the 4th, and the 24th. And then in 2023, I may change that up and decide to go for a finish I'm not sure. It has a big border to stitch around it and some words down here. And I don't even know if she still wants the project, and it's stained, but I'm determined to finish it. So, and I enjoyed stitching it. And so there's that. I forgot to talk about the colors that I decided on. So I haven't gone through and given you the DMC numbers for the projects that I'm working on. I do intend to have all that information in the description box below. So if you're looking for the specific floss that I am using, just look in the description box. It'll be down there. And if it's not down there, just comment or, send an email and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So I picked my colors and wrote them down on a piece of paper next to the symbols on the DMC chart. So I have these that I have not wrapped yet. They're still in the little hanks. And then these two. Now this is the way I used to store my DMC. We're on these thread drops that I made, and I have them on the binder rings, and I have them hanging in an empty closet or empty section of my walk-in closet. But I decided I liked it for a time, and now I don't like it. So this is what I've been doing when I have a new hank of DMC and then I need to use it. So I got these tags off of Amazon, and I just cut a slit on this side, cut a slit on that side, and I wrap it. And then once I pull thread to use, what I have left over just goes in that hole. And I'm just going to store these in plastic boxes and stick them, I'm not sure where, but no longer hanging in my walk-in closet. Though that did work for me for a time and I did like it. But so here's the ones that I've wrapped. So, and all the DMC numbers, like I said, will be in the description box below. I don't think I mentioned that when my Leaves of Autumn Dimensions kit I worked on for 5 hours and 15 minutes. I can't remember if I said that. All right, so now let's talk about my 2 new starts. On October 1st, I started Soda Stitch Anne of Green Gables, and I will pop in a screenshot of what that will look like when it's completed. And I just have a very small start. I only worked on it for 1 day for a half an hour. And there's my start. I started in the right hand corner. It seems like most people start on the top left hand corner, and I tend to start either in the center or the top right hand corner. Well, that's just, I don't know, what feels natural to me. But I am using Hobby Lobby Artiste brand 28 count even weave in white, and I am using all DMC, and I actually have all these on a binder ring. So that's my old way of storage, and this is my new way of storage. But so for now, I'm only going to work on this project on the 1st of the month, at least for the remainder of 2022. So on November 1st and December 1st, this project should get a little love. In 2023, I'm planning a whole new rotation, and I'm probably not going to do WIPGO, but yeah, I'm not talking about my 2023 plans now, but just to mention that. So there's my start, very small. All right, and then I have a second new start. So on my, let me grab this, my daughter's 6th birthday was on October 11th, and I started my first Blackbird design. It's called Dear Daughter. That's what it looks like. And it has the teeny tiniest little start. That was such a busy day. I think I started it at like 11 o'clock at night. I spent a total of 30 minutes on it, and some of that 30 minutes was picking the fabric for it and getting the fabric in a hoop and finding my center start. So I'm using all the suggested DMC. I've wound one of the colors, and the rest of them are still in this bag from 1-2-3 Stitch, because I just ordered, you know how 1-2-3 Stitch has that great little feature when you pick a pattern, it'll say, like, you know, add all for all the rest of the materials that you may need. And I just did that when I ordered the pattern earlier this year. So the fabric I decided on came from Stash. I had purchased it last year, I believe. It's from Forbidden Fiber Co. Here it is. It's Forest Fairy. It's a Belfast linen, 32 count. It's a 10x12 size. So that should be just big enough. I mean, I should have 2-inch borders on both sides, 2-inch-ish borders on both sides, but I think it'll work. I'm not worried about it. But I did want to make sure that I got my center start as perfect as possible. It's not perfect, but you know, as close to perfect as possible, because I am kind of cutting it close for my borders. And there is my start. Will my board help you see what the fabric looks like better? Let's see. Oh yeah, I think so. So it's beigey with like a pink. And I think it'll look good with the DMC colors. Yeah. I'm really excited about this one too. However, for the rest of the year, this one is only going to get worked on the 11th of the month. So November 11th and December 11th is when this project will get pulled out again and have some more work done on it. Just in case, I'll just show that again. All right. So those are all my whips and my new starts, but I have a couple more things to talk about. So I decided to UFO 2 projects, and I'm going to talk about those. I have a second Whip Go project that I need to complete this month. I'm going to talk about it briefly. I have 2 new starts that I will start before I record Flosstube number 3 in November, so I want to talk about those. And I received some Stitchy kindness from a new Stitchy friend, and I'm going to talk about that briefly. So let me get myself organized here. I think I said this last time, but it is a lot easier to record a video with knitting projects than it is cross-stitch projects. I have a mess all around me, and I've lost my little clicker, so I'll be... All right, so my second Whip Go project for the month is this hands-on design. Let's talk autumn. So I will give this project 5 days of time. No specific amount of time, just 5 days. I have to touch it, put some stitches into it. And I showed this in the first Flosstube, and it hasn't been worked on since then, but here it is. Okay. And I am stitching this on a Wichelt linen. I believe it's 32 count. And I am using all DMC colors, not the suggested colors, but I am using DMC except for the letters. The letters are, I'm using color in cotton, and I am stitching this 2 threads over 2, so 2 over 2. And I don't love black fabric, but I'm going to for this project. And I will talk about that more after in next month's video. All right, I'm going to talk about the projects that I decided to UFO. I had both of these projects on my WhipGo board. This one was an original project on my WhipGo board. I, of course, dropped the other one. And this one was added later to the WhipGo board when I decided to UFO another project due to fabric issues, and that's exactly what these projects are about. So I really like both of them. I think this one is cute and this one is nice. So I may still stitch these in the future, but I'm not going to continue with the projects that were started. And that's because of the fabric. I've realized some things about myself. I do not like, or I do not enjoy stitching on 36 count. So earlier this year, I finished a project. This was from a Just Cross Stitch magazine. It's a little ornament or fall pillow. I can't remember exactly. But I will pop the information on the screen because I can't remember what it is now. But this is an R&R Liberty Gathering Gray 36 count linen. I stitched this 2 over 2 with a variety of different threads. And I did not enjoy the process. It took me a long time to finish this little project. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I didn't enjoy stitching it because I was doing 2 over 2. And I thought, maybe I'll do 1 over 2 when the next project, because I had quite a bit of this R&R, Liberty Gathering Gray. And so I decided to stitch this project on this Liberty Gathering Gray 1 over 2. I swapped out the colors because the white was not showing up on it well. This is I believe this is a color in cotton. I'm not even sure because I dismantled the project bags. I just knew I was not going to continue with these projects as is. This is how far I got. And it looks pretty. I like the way that looks. I just dreaded picking up the project and stitching on it. So I'm not going to. I'm not going to force myself to do something that I'm not enjoying, because this is a hobby that I enjoy and I don't want to make it feel like a chore. And I also started this. This is a 36 count Edinburgh linen. I believe the color is, the sticker from 123 Stitch is not complete. It's like kind of cut off. And so it's either Pale Moon or Platinum. I'm sorry, I'm not sure which one. But I am stitching this 1 over 2 threads again. And I just did not enjoy it. I don't love stitching words to begin with. I love the way they look. I just don't enjoy stitching them. And the 1 over 2 on 36 count is not enjoyable to me. And I didn't realize it looking at the picture, but stitching it, this circle is like not a circle. It's kind of like you know, imperfect, which is fine. But it just kind of threw me off and I wasn't enjoying the process anyway. And when it came time to pick this project up, I looked at it and I thought, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to make myself work on something I don't feel I'm working on. So they were UFO'd, and that makes room for two projects that I plan to start. My first planned new start is this witchy wash. Who is it? Raise the Roof Designs. And I was gifted this pattern by my friend Julie for my birthday this year. In April, she bought me everything I could need. She purchased the pattern and the little button pack to go with it, all the DMC, and this fabric. It's Artiste brand from Hobby Lobby, and I believe it's just the natural Belfast 32 count Belfast linen natural. That's what it is. So on October 31st, this project is going to get a start. And I don't have any plans for the rest of this year. I don't know how many days I'll pull it out and work on it the rest of this year. I don't know if I'll pull it out every 31st, which there'll only be one more, right? Or what. But I will make plans for this project in 2023. And my second new start is on, I have it planned, I believe, for November 3rd, my husband's birthday. I thought it would be fun to start a project on his birthday. This project has nothing to do with my husband. But it's just an important day in my life, and I thought, you know, why not start a project on that day? But this is a kit by Letty Stitch, and I love that picture. And I'm excited to start it. Sorry about the glare. I plan on using all kit materials. It comes with Aida. I'm going to use the Aida, and it's anchor threads, so I will use those. It says there's 46 colors. It is called Magical Horses. So that'll be a new start before the next time I see you. Okay, so let's talk about, I have one more purchase I want to talk about, and then I will talk about my Stitchy kindness and my new Stitchy. So I've been making some plans for my 2023 stitching, because it's always fun to plan. And I plan to make 2023 the year of the kits, because I have kits that I either need to finish or start. And that includes dimension kits, like that Letty Stitch kit, Mill Hill kits, any kits. So I've had this Dimensions Gold Petite in my stash for a little while. I think I purchased it after I finished my last Dimension Gold Petite kit. And if I can find one, I'll pop a picture in. I finished that one in 2021. So it's been in there a while. And at some point, I pulled the Aida out of the kit for something else, another project, I think. I'm not sure, but the Aida's not in there. It came with it. I pulled it out. I don't know if I gave it to my daughter-in-law or if I used it, but it came with 18 count white Aida. And I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a lot of, I don't know if that's back stitch or half stitches, but all that blue is stitching. So, I knew I wanted to buy fabric, and I had originally thought maybe I'd get an even weave, But then with all of this stitching in here, and I know that dimension kits don't always translate well on even weave or linen because of the way they're stitched. So I just decided to go ahead and buy an 18 count Aida, but I decided to get one, a fun one, instead of just white. So I purchased this from Color and Cotton. It's Harvest Moon. So it's like a yellowy, creamy color. And I think that that blue stitching will still show up and still look good on it. And so that's my plan for this. I think that'll look good. And when I made this purchase, I got a free gift from Color and Cotton, which I belonged to the Color and Cotton Thread Club for a year, and I've made other, you know, single purchases from them before. But this is the second time that I've gotten a little free gift of threads from them. So that was fun. It was a little surprise. I wasn't expecting in my, you know, when I opened my package. Okay, so now we'll talk about my new friend and my Stitchy. So a little while ago, we got a comment on one of my daughter-in-law and I got a comment on one of our knitting episodes from a woman who had viewed our podcast, and she also lived in Delaware, which is where we're located. I don't think I said that in the beginning. And you know, we've just chatted back and forth through the comments, and we both know our local yarn store owner. So when I went into the local yarn store, I said, you know, this woman left a comment, and she said she's friends with you, and she was like, yeah, that's my friend. And so I knew she was a real person, you know. But so we chatted back and forth, and then after my Flosstube episode last month, she left a comment, and she was like, I'm a long time cross stitcher. If you'd like to get together sometime and talk cross stitching, you know, I'd love to do that. And I said, sure. So we made plans, and we met up yesterday at a local park, and we sat at a picnic table for a couple hours, just getting to know each other and talking about cross stitch. We also talked about knitting, and we actually didn't cross stitch. We knitted instead, but there was a lot of cross stitch talk, and it was just a great time. And I'm not going to say your name because I didn't ask if I could, but you know who you are, and I had a really fun time, and I hope we can do it again soon. But when we were there, she pulled out this big Ziploc bag full of charts, and she said, I'm going to get rid of these, go through them, take what you want, don't take anything, don't feel pressured if you don't want to, but you know, they're yours if you want them. And so I started going through them, and there were lots of them that I loved, but I try to be realistic when it comes to my cross stitch stash. I don't want to overwhelm myself with charts or patterns. Because I want to kind of keep it to things that I'm really excited about stitching and that I know I'll make the time to stitch. So I did keep six, and 2 of them were on my 1, 2, 3 wish list, so I was able to cross those off. And these were these 2 Prairie Schooler charts. So this one is April. My birthday's in April, so I've always wanted this one. Plus, I think I said in the last episode, I'm a sucker for houses, and I like that pinky house. And then this one was on there too. I like the bigger chart or the longer chart, but I actually really wanted this one for the small. I really like that small. I think it's cute. So I'm excited to have those. I don't have any plans to start them. I also decided to keep this one, my Stony Creek, because April. It calls for 2 buttons, and so I was looking at it and trying to think of a way to fill in those spaces without the buttons. I might just shift the daffodil chart to the center and shift April to the center, maybe, and then not worry about filling in the open spaces. But I do want to stitch this one. I like it. I think it's pretty. And then I kept this one. She showed me a picture of her finish, how she finished it in a frame that she got from Hobby Lobby, and it looked really pretty. And she said it was fun to stitch. And I thought that I'd like to start this one when I finish the current Christmas one I'm stitching. So I think it's really pretty. I might change up the colors though, just a little bit. Make them a little bit brighter. Because I'm kind of a bright girl, but not too bright, but you know, a little bit. And then I kept this one because fall and house. That's all I can say about this one. I love that house. I love the colors. Pumpkins are cool and tasty. I just really like it. So no plans to start this one, but you know, I could soon, not too soon. And then this one I wasn't going to keep. I had it in the maybe pile and I kept going, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. But in the end, I decided to take this one as well because house. I love that house. And I enjoy flowers, stitching flowers and bees and birds. I don't think there's a bird in this one, but I did think that maybe I might stitch this one and just stitch the house with the flowers coming out of the top. And leave off the lady and the beehives and this down here. But then it might look too empty. I'm not sure. So, but it's not very big. 95 stitches by 95 stitches. So it suggests 36 count. I would not stitch it on 36 count for obvious reasons. So that was my Stitchy kindness, and it was just really nice making a new friend. So I think that's all. I will talk a little bit briefly about plans beyond what I've said here. I do have plans to finish 2 of my whips that I didn't show, but I'm not sure how I'm going to work them in. But one's a Christmas. I talked about it in the last episode. And then another one is a winter, a small winter piece with a snowman that is still on my Whip Go board. So it's due to be called either in November or December. And I think once it gets called and I pull it out, I'm just going to keep stitching on it until it's finished. So that'll be 2 finishes, at least 2 finishes by the end of the year. And so I'm just really enjoying the time that I have to stitch. I do intend to continue to work on my daughter's birthday piece with the back stitching and until it's completed. And so hopefully I'll have that as a finish for next month's episode. But I'm going to shift the time frame for these episodes, Flosstubes. So it was about 32 days in between the last 2. I think it'll be more like, instead of 4 weeks, in 4.5 weeks, I think it'll be 5.5 weeks, more towards the end of November, because I want to finish the year. I want to have December's wrap up at the very tail end of December, so I can just go over everything for the end of the year, and then that way I can start January, you know, and it'll be a full month's worth of stitching at the end. That's my plan. So if you made it to the end, thank you. I appreciate you choosing to spend your time with me. And if you're new and you've made it this far and you've enjoyed watching, I hope you consider subscribing. And I hope that you have uh, a fun, relaxing, just wonderful month ahead of you. And I will see you in 5-ish weeks. All right. Bye.